That's why it's eating you, because you know you didn't do a goddamn thing, and it's gonna keep eating at you. It's gonna keep eating and eating and eating. There's no getting away with it, you understand?
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy. So right now, Daredevil is the most important MCU hero because he's doing something that the Avengers are failing to do. He is protecting the little guy. Daredevil has always explored the reasons why Matt had to take the law into his own hands due to a broken system. However, the failure of the system isn't simply about the judicial system or the state. The main institution that failed the people is none other than the Avengers.
What did you just say?
Yeah, I said what I said. And remember, now you can listen to ScreenCrush on all of your favorite podcast platforms. And I'm so excited to show you guys this brand new shirt that we designed for our merch store. A parody of The Thing, designed to look like John Carpenter's The Thing. The links for that are below. Things are only getting worse for the regular people because of all of these world-changing events. But think about it, there are barely any heroes who deal with those street-level threats. And the Avengers are responsible for Wilson Fisk rising to power as mayor. It's an institutional problem that made the Avengers complicit in an out-of-touch view about street-level crime. Now, all of this is the reason why Matt must once again let the devil out.
Vigilantes, love them. Should have had that a long time ago. They're the only people that can solve the problem in New York. I wish I could be a vigilante. I'd be out there too.
Vigilantism is in essence a form of justice based on retribution. It's about men and women who become disillusioned with the system that fails to maintain the rule of law due to corruption and social decay. Thus, they must take matters into their own hands to be above the law, to achieve true justice. But in the world of the MCU, there are superheroes like the Avengers. In theory, they're vigilantes, but they're not seen that way. They're global protectors, beloved and respected by the civilizations and usually by the authorities.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
Oh! Masked vigilantes, though, don't receive the same reaction. They're usually seen as no better than the criminals they beat up.
We don't need a gun-toting vigilante who wears a skull on his chest, or a man who dresses in a spider outfit, or a guy who wears devil horns to save us.
But what makes it so tragic is that the Avengers are now representing a system that fails to protect the people.
Wait a minute, but person, the Avengers saved the planet, like a lot of times.
Yeah, that's true. They did save the world many times. There would be no planet or universe without them. However, there is a reason why New York still needs vigilantes like Daredevil. Matt desperately tries to put his faith in the system despite knowing all too well about its limitations.
You and your goddamn system.
And this is the real reason why Matt doesn't suit up in the first 3 episodes focused on White Tiger, a vigilante who parallels Daredevil.
Someone's got to protect the streets. People are going missing, no one seems to care. It's not like Daredevil's around anymore. The people need a hero.
This is why Matt tries to get Hector to stop being White Tiger. Because if the system cannot deliver true justice, it would mean that justice can only be had by going outside the law with no due process. And if that's true, then he failed to deliver justice for Foggy.
You hate yourself. He's eating you up because you ain't done a goddamn thing about it.
And this is why it's perfect that Matt finally decides to suit up after the scene with Punisher. Because while he fears he might become a killer like him,
You know you're one bad day away from being me.
Frank's words shake Matt out of the delusion that he can achieve justice as a lawyer. And in the scene with Frank, Matt breaks down over his guilt. The guilt over Foggy and Hector, and the understanding that they would still be alive if not for his doubts and belief in the system.
How about old Foggy? He got life.
The realization that the only way to achieve meaningful justice in the world of the MCU is by letting the devil out. But the Avengers are letting all of this happen. It's unintentional, obviously the Avengers are good guys, but their views about street crime make them extremely out of touch. The reason why the Avengers assembled in the first place was to fight the battles that we never could. They are superheroes defending the world on a global and cosmic scale. Criminals are simply not Avengers-level threats. And if we're being honest, it would be an overkill for most Avengers to deal with crime. I mean, if Thor and Hulk fight crime, it would be a massacre. And don't forget, we also have tons of Daredevil parody merch, like the No Fear hallway fight, Nelson and Murdock classic tees, the Battle of New York headline, the Fisk campaign shirt and yard sign, and Rabbit in a Snowstorm. Links for everything and this special sale are below. The Avengers deal with the big picture. If they start dealing with every single crime in the world, then they would be too overstretched and busy to deal with the actual world-ending threats. But as we all know, things are simply not normal in the world of the MCU, and it's way more than just petty crime. And when you think about it, there are so very few heroes who actually deal with these smaller scale threats. Even heroes like Spider-Man, Shang-Chi, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, who started out as street-level heroes, now mostly deal with bigger threats.
I mean, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, sir.
Bitch, please, you've been to space.
However, just like how Matt tries to convince himself that the justice system can be successful without vigilante justice, the Avengers believe that the state can maintain the rule of law on the street level, and that means that they should not interfere in those matters.
100% effective. Can't fight if you're not there. That's what Gandhi taught us.
People like Fisk thrive in that void being left by the Avengers. And this is how the Kingpin and his criminal buddies gained power and profited from the damage left after the Battle of New York.
Every time one of these guys punches someone through a building, our margins go up 3%.
And it looks like Fisk's power and influence only grows every time he's released from prison. And let's not forget about Adrian Toomes became the Vulture and sold dangerous weapons created from scavenged wreckage of Avengers battles. And when Spider-Man warned Tony what the Vulture was doing, Tony didn't take the threat seriously because...
Steady, Crockett, there are people who handle this sort of thing.
The Avengers?
No, just a little below their pay grade.
But the authorities couldn't deal with the Vulture. They can barely handle regular criminals like Kingpin and Bullseye.
This city's been sick, and the cops, they can't fix it alone. New York needs these people. We need heroes.
Though maybe that's not such a terrible thing that Tony never got into crime fighting, because you just know that Tony would try to fix everything and end up creating RoboCop, and then somehow it would have ended up with a bunch of ED-209s going on a rampage. But the irony is that Tony learned nothing from the Adrian Toomes situation. He recruited Peter because he saw his potential. He understood the need for street-level heroes that operate on a small scale, but he never did anything with it, despite the fact that at that point Wilson Fisk was outed as a murderous crime lord of New York. Tony outfitted a teenager with a super suit that actually has a kill mode.
Activating instant kill.
No, I don't want to kill anybody.
But he couldn't throw some money and support toward heroes like Daredevil.
Every student has been made an equal recipient of the inaugural September Foundation grant. As in, all of your projects have just been approved and funded.
But the Avengers can certainly be of service on the streets even if they don't go out and fight crime. They have access to tech and resources that could make a real difference. And more importantly, they have the moral compass that will ensure that they will do the right thing.
We may not be perfect, but the safest hands are still our own.
The Avengers already ignore most jurisdictions and laws. They go wherever their heroics are needed. Superheroes should not hesitate to do the right thing. They need to intervene, to break the rules, to protect the people and make the world a safer place, even if it makes them above the law. There's simply no other way. Now, when it comes to street-level crimes, they're making a choice to stay out of it. Now, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the video. The system is failing. And despite the Avengers living in this world, they are above the system since normal laws and rules don't seem to apply to them.
You're not going to put any of us in a prison. You know why?
Do enlighten us.
Because you need us.
This is the reason why the world government can never truly regulate the Avengers. So, since they're not affected by the system, they don't bother making it better for regular civilians who don't benefit from the same privilege.
You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change.
And I'm pretty sure that most of the world still thinks that Spider-Man murdered Mysterio even after that memory spell. But even when he was public enemy #1, Peter still benefited from his privilege as a superhero, so he didn't face the same procedures as regular murder suspects. And Matt is the one who helped Peter in court, which is kind of ironic that a vigilante is saving the butt of a super popular hero. I mean, there's a reason why there's a cover-up to explain away the Hex.
I thought that turned out to be some Avengers training exercise gone wrong.
People who were there refused to talk about it.
And Wong smuggled out Emil Blonsky just so he could have a match in a cage fight. So you can see there are rules for different heroes.
They become symbols, icons, and then we start to forget about their flaws.
This creates a sense of inevitable entitlement. When Mysterio frames him for murder, Peter decides to ask his wizard friend to mess with the fabric of space-time, making the highly unethical decision to do a severance to the whole world just because it was an easy solution.
Here's the thing about being rich. It's like being a superhero. You get to do what you want, the authorities can't really touch you, you get to wear a costume, but it's designed by Armani.
Now, I know how this sounds, like we're ranting about the Avengers, when in fact this is more about how the MCU tells their stories. And Marvel kind of wants to focus on larger scale stories. But let's be honest, in universe, the fact that the Avengers don't take action on the street level makes them kind of out of touch. And I don't mean like super rich elitists who look down on the working class. Although there is some powerful imagery to the Avengers kind of living in an ivory tower far above the ordinary people.
Reports coming in of multiple explosions all across Hell's Kitchen.
Meanwhile,
And that was before the Avengers moved their whole operation to upstate New York. And it's so ironic because upstate New York is where really rich people eventually move away to from Manhattan.
Upstate New York.
So it's sort of like the Avengers living in a super high-tech mansion far away from the normal people who live in the city. Now, since they don't live close to the ground, it's easier to just relegate street-level crimes to the authorities. But Daredevil lives among the people he protects. In Born Again, he moves up in the world, now being part of a fancy new law firm. Although, he's still on the ground. He is still defending the working class. He can't just shut himself off from what is happening in the streets. He is surrounded by the pain and suffering that is caused by injustice, by the pieces of human garbage who prey on the weak.
You touch your daughter again, and I will know.
And the thing is that it's more than just street-level crime. Like we've seen with the Vulture, the constant world-changing events trickle down to the street level, creating new threats that cops just can't handle themselves. There's an entire illegal economy of dangerous items on the black market. In the show Luke Cage, there's Chitauri tech sold on the black market in Harlem. In Hawkeye, loot from the battle against Thanos is sold at a criminal auction. And then there's a new dangerous super soldier serum created in Madripoor, a city which is infested with crime. The problems at the top on the global scale are trickling down to the streets, impacting the people who are just trying to get by with their lives. Like, for example, Leroy Bradford, the man that Matt defends in episode 4. Bradford, like many other members of the middle class, still struggles under a bureaucratic system that is almost designed to keep him down or in and out of jail.
Bad enough trying to live off food stamps, but when they cut it, man, it takes forever to get that shit back regular. Then you gotta start eating throwaway crap from supermarket dumpsters.
But on top of that, he has to worry about these world-changing events that impact his life no matter what. So it's not surprising that crime rates are going up. I mean, it's a domino effect. Episode 4 even finally name drops the Skrulls.
Could it have been a scroll?
Skrulls.
So, Celestials coming out of the ocean, the sky shattered because of some weird multiverse stuff, and there are shape-shifting aliens among us. And I'm pretty sure that everybody still has PTSD from the blip. The Avengers aren't around since they never assembled after Thanos. And yes, I know that Sam is planning to assemble a new team, but there are no new Avengers right now. And I don't mean to keep piling on, but what does it say that Sam needed Thunderbolt Ross of all people to convince him that the world needs the Avengers? So even Sam Wilson, who's like as down to earth as you can get, is kind of out of touch here.
You take that back. I love Captain America.
I mean, so do I, but Ross wanted to arrest all the Avengers. He's a professional superhero hater, and Captain America still needs that guy to realize the world needs the Avengers now more than ever. And we've seen the dangerous precedent created as a result of all of this. Because if the Avengers entrust law enforcement agencies with street-level threats, then they have to escalate to be able to contain these threats. That's how the Department of Damage Control became a special police force used against super people. And this takes us back to Born Again, because we believe that Fisk is going to exploit the panic in the streets to gain ultimate power over New York.
Vigilantes, they run rampant. Good cops are afraid. It's no longer safe for decent people.
So Fisk is exploiting corruption and the bureaucracy of the system and the panic in the streets in the post-blip world, just like he exploited the collateral damage after the Battle of New York.
Remember I told you that I'd get things done? Well, here I am getting them done.
And this is how this connects to the Punisher imposters. And these are the cops who have Punisher tattoos.
Bunch of bullshit fanboys, huh? Yeah, a lot of them cops.
Wait, why would cops use a Punisher logo?
So it looks like the bad cops like Powell adapted the Punisher symbol to deliver some corrupt justice in the streets. And some cops might be inspired by Punisher because he delivers justice by any means necessary. So they've appropriated his symbol and they're taking the law into their own hands to achieve justice, but since they're bad cops, their justice is very corrupt and they're using it to exploit people on the street and even kill them. They're basically the Vic Mackey of the MCU.
Your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
But this once again shows the domino effect. These cops exploit the law right under everyone's noses, terrorizing the citizens of New York, and no one is stopping them because they are the law.
I never broke the law. I am the law.
And these are the guys that the Avengers trust to deal with crime? I mean, do you see the problem? And this is how this connects to Fisk. Since he's the mayor, sooner or later he will cross paths with these Punisher cops. Fisk is anti-vigilante for obvious reasons. So our theory is that Fisk is going to recruit the Punisher cops to work for him, just like he had the FBI serve as his personal henchmen. I think the cops will be happy to serve him because he will probably empower them and let them kill whoever they want. In fact, since Daredevil is finally back, Fisk could turn the cops into his personal vigilante task force. And this is how Fisk gains ultimate power, using the cops as his personal army to rule the streets.
These vigilantes, they are not heroes. The rule of law must prevail.
And that is what makes the MCU reality so scary. Fisk, Ross, Valentina, Ritson, Damage Control, all the bad guys are gaining power. They are putting the world at risk. And the superheroes that protect the world are standing by and letting these bad guys take over.
You've got to do better, Senator.
So the Avengers should fight the government?
Well, no, I'm not saying the Avengers should take over the world or become some authoritarian government. Superheroes should never become the ruling class because then their very purpose is null and void. The problem for vigilantes like Daredevil is that they cannot achieve true justice within the system, because vigilantism is usually seen as retribution, which is considered to be illegal, and it goes against the legal norms of society.
Only I do the one thing that you can't. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down.
This is why, in Season 2, Daredevil lets the cops arrest Punisher and he refuses to take credit. Matt was willing to get arrested just because he didn't want to glorify vigilantism.
You caught him, not me. It can't be me, it has to be you. People have to know the system works. Not his justice and not mine.
Because this will maintain the fragile illusion that the system works. But the Avengers, on the other hand, have legitimacy and global influence. They are idolized and seen as the highest form of moral authority in the world. They can change the world without needing to punch anyone. Their word carries immeasurable weight. All they have to do is use their great power because that's their responsibility as heroes.
Because that's what heroes do.
So maybe it's time for the Avengers to change their views about intervention on the smaller scale, because their inaction is costing the regular people their freedom and lives. But you know what? Maybe it's a good thing that Daredevil is a street-level hero who isn't getting any help from the Avengers, because the moment he gets a seat at the big table, it is so easy to forget about all of his little vigilante struggles, and that would lead to him forgetting about the struggles of the people on the street. I mean, this is what happened to Spider-Man. He has not been around the neighborhood for a long time because he's been going to space and fighting aliens and dealing with multiverse stuff.
I fought an alien made out of black goo once.
Oh, no way. I fought an alien too. On Earth and in space.
Oh.
Yeah, he was purple.
I want to fight an alien.
Spider-Man used to swing around the city, but always staying close to the ground, close to the people on the streets. But now, Spider-Man swings higher than ever, far from the people below, rather than being among them on the ground. And I know that the ending of No Way Home hints at Spider-Man being back on the street level. But Spider-Man 4 is probably going to be about the multiverse again, so he's not really a street level hero anymore. So in the end, the best option could be for Daredevil to find a way to deliver meaningful justice as a vigilante and to change the system as a lawyer. In fact, maybe it's time for Mayor Murdock. Besides, with the Born Again revival and that Punisher spinoff in the works, we might get to see the return of the Defenders. So all of this means that the best people to handle the street level threats are the vigilantes who are forced to take the law into their own hands and do what the system and the Avengers failed to do: protect the little guy. But do you think that Daredevil should form a new street-level Avengers team? Let us know at our free-to-join Discord server or down in the comments below, and special shout-out to Pavel T, who wrote and edited this video. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.